those are. But
Rachel is not in today.
Oh.
Bree is going to be her backup.
all right.
And Joe, I have the IT consulting team members on the call as well.
Oh, okay. So
And
those might be the unidentified folks.
that could be, and maybe Longview IT as well.
All right. Well, at my rundown on the count here, I think I see we have a quorum. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order here at 10:01. Our first item would be the approval of the agenda. Did everybody have a chance to look the agenda over? Any changes to the agenda?
So I'm not going to do anything with you.
I think you're right on target. I think.
If you need a motion, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Sure.
And
go ahead.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on the agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, agenda is approved. Guess I check in. Chet McKinster, is that you on the iPhone? I didn't see Chet's name on here, but sometimes he's the iPad or iPhone person. All right. Well, we'll keep moving along. Approval of the meeting minutes from May 26th. Is there any changes?
I noticed a couple of minor things in there, Joe. Under 10A, under the director's report, it says we are not staffed. I think it should say we are now staffed. It was just a little typo. If you see that.
Okay.
And then in, I believe it's 10B, the last sentence, doesn't quite make sense there. They can manager a 911 center. This should be just not, they can now manage, maybe. I'm not sure what that.
Dave might be able to clear that one up for us. That's what my thought is, Alan.
I can't get into any documents right now. I've got major computer issues.
Uh-oh. And this, the last sentence says they can now manage your 911 center. It's talking about Bob Schaefer has been certified as an ENP by NENA. They can now manage your 911 center. I'm thinking now.
What that means is that he's been certified, and an ENP means that he can manage a 911 center.
Okay, so that should say manage. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It says manager, so it's just a typo. That's all I had.
Joe, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
There. Hi, Chet.
Okay. Thank you.
The mystery iPhone.
Yes, sir. That's me.
Thank you. Let's see. Any other changes to the minutes? Thanks for those catches, Alan. If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the minutes as amended. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. I'll check in then. Do we have anybody online for public comment joining us today? Anybody wish to make comment out there? All right, taking that as a no, not hearing anything. Then item 5, moving along, would be the payables. Anybody have any questions on any of the payables that were presented? in the agenda.
I'd make a motion to approve the payables as presented.
I'd second that.
All right, we have an emotion and a second to approve the payables as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 There any opposed? Okay, payables are approved as presented. Item 6, a Red Canoe account update. Not sure who has that one. Just, is that just informational Phil Jermu?
I
was
believe,
needed removed?
I believe Rachel had told me that Phil, or she went in to change her name because she just got married and she needed Phil's signature to do that. And obviously Phil's not around, so we have to get my name on it and Rachel's new name on it. That was the update she gave me about the Red Canoe account.
Okay, you don't need any action from us to get you there, or that you've taken care of that?
We will take care of that, but we need it in the minutes that, yeah, Frank can help you out
Okay.
with what you need legally.
Yeah, yes, it's just the authority for the account. So yes, I think you need to have a board vote approving the change of both of Rachel's name and then putting Dave in as opposed to Phil.
So moved.
Second.
All right, let's move in a second to change those names on the Red Canoe account. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. All
And
right,
what we'll do is we'll take the minutes in to the Red Canoe place and get those changes made.
okay, thank you. Then item 7, our personal services agreement with AdCom Engineering.
Okay, so I have several members of the technical consulting team, AdCom, CVE, and More Power Technology Group on the call with us. They're gonna do kind of a brief presentation for the board, so you have an opportunity to ask some questions and kind of see, you know, what this proposal is about. And then we have a document that the staff at the Communication Center is recommending that you approve. Initially, when the personal service agreement was created, developed, agreed on, it only had phase 1, which was the discovery phase, because the consulting team really didn't have enough information until they were able to get into kind of the weeds here and see what business operations are like and what we need for the future. And so they have actually already started the phase 2 portion of this. And this new personal service agreement is for phase 2 through phase 5, which will take us to the completion of this relocation of all of our technology. In addition, I had asked them to include some projected replacement costs for equipment such as network switches, servers, PCs, that kind of thing, so that the board has something to work off of as you work on your long-term budget for the comm center. And a projection of what those costs might look like should we go out and contract support for the network system in the future. So can I go ahead and have them start with the presentation? I'll introduce Susan Ronnie.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. And can I take the screen, or can I be either co-host or something so that I could share a presentation?
Are we able to do that? Maybe,
I'm gonna go chat with Bree really quick in another room. I think she knows how to do that, but I'll make sure.
thank you.
Great, thank you. I'll go ahead and get started. So on, as Deanna mentioned, we've got three teams. So AdCom Engineering is the prime on this project. We're working with CVE Technologies and More Power as well. Our primary focus on projects is really we're 911 centers, public safety systems, dispatch services. So we understand how the operations work with all these different agencies, and that's where our core competency lies. Is really understanding how do the dispatchers operate, who do they communicate with, what's important to them, and being able to. Oh, here we go. We got the screen now. All right, so you should be able to see this at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so really it's, so it's really just all of the things that go along with 911 centers. So we've got lots of experience in radio communications networks, microwave networks, all of the systems that basically provide the services for you to be able to talk, right? And so we understand our clients, especially with dispatch centers, you don't care how the stuff works as long as it works. And so that's our driver, is making sure that you can communicate on the systems and the services and the applications that you're looking for. So our staff, we've got AdCom staff is primarily located within Seattle and Portland and along those ways. We've got MPE Technologies, who is located locally to you in Longview. Their core, what their target audience is really maintaining systems and managing systems. And so they understand, the upgrades and patches and things that need to happen throughout the project lifecycle. And they've got, a team of experts that understand all of these different technologies for maintaining and operating systems. CVE Tech is their core competency really is designing networks. It's identifying what the networks need to look like, how they should be laid out, what's the best way, how to make sure that they're resilient, reliable, and secure. So that's where they provide their value. So for all of us working together, I think we've got a great team. We've been able to really really understand and identify what needs to happen. So we are, experts in our field, and we're excited to be part of this. So, and we've done some, from AdCom's perspective, we've been published multiple times in local trade journals, and are trying to really, drive the fact of using standardized processes as we do these projects. So in the design process, what we've done is essentially we go through a life cycle, and we understand that even before we get on board, you've been working on this for at least 2 years, if not 5 or more, to get to the point where that you need an upgrade, you need a system, you need something. And so that exploration phase is already, that's gone past. You guys have done great. You made it to the point where you've drawn the line in the sand and you've moved forward. So now we've got the new 911 center under construction, or just about. And you've also got, a team like us under staff to help you move that equipment, upgrade the equipment and services that go into that building. So what we've done so far is the understand phase, or the discovery, right? So we've developed a concept design, and so that's what we've completed, which was really understanding what are the requirements. And so when we go through requirements, we look at it from 3 different perspectives. It's from the business side, from the operations side, and then from the maintenance side. So from the business, what do you care about in terms of, it needs to be cost effective. It needs to support your users. It needs to be scalable so that you're not having to replace equipment and replace systems all the time. We should be looking towards, so our design factors are to look what do you need now and what do you need in the future, and let's design it so that it manages and takes that into account. We also want to make sure that your business functions and your operations continue, so without major impacts. For the operational requirements, we want it to be easy to use. We want it to be online 24/7. We don't want to have to, if there's updates and maintenance that has to happen on the system, we don't want to take those dispatch operators out of service. We want them to continue to operate and continue to use the systems. So the design that we've put together allows that and provides them a chance to be able to continue to work and excuse me, and reduce some of those frustrations that they have currently with outdated equipment, outdated technology, and based on how the systems have kind of been added over the years. So we're able to take a brand new, and especially again, you're in a great position by starting fresh in the new environment to be able to build the network, to be able to support all of these various systems, and then also be able to ensure that the operations of those systems is pretty seamless. We can do updates and changes to the backup system, right, before we deploy those out to the users. So then that way we're able to test and check things before the agencies and the users are going to have to actually use that. In terms of maintenance, the design, again, is we've taken into effect as part of our discovery process was to really talk to everybody, right? To talk to all of the folks that have to use the systems now and have to maintain them in the future. What are their frustrations? What's good, what's bad, and what would we need to make sure that we can account for? So in terms of maintenance, we've been able to come up with what the projected costs are going to be for not just right now, but what it's going to be in the future to continue that maintenance. You know, it's like buying a new car versus a used car. You know what it's going to be over the next few years. Whereas, you know, used, you're going to have to replace pieces and parts all the time. So we've designed it to be resilient. We've properly engineered it, and we've really taken into account all the various stakeholders. So for the next phases, so now that we've essentially finished phase 1, the next essentially 2 through 5 is this plan and then perform, right? So we've started enough to be able to identify what equipment needs to be purchased. There is definitely there's a lag in the market because of the COVID delays. And so we're wanting to get that purchase of equipment started immediately. And then that way we've got enough time that that's not going to be a holdup on the project. So we want to make sure that we've got that equipment in place. And while that procurement happens, we're going to complete the design process. So we've got the concept, we've got a preliminary design completed, but we need to flesh out what the actual detailed design is. What is the configuration of that equipment? And so that's what's going to happen within phase 2 and 3. 4 and 5 is to deploy and do field testing, lab testing, and then the actual cutover. So our expectation is to place the order on the equipment, send it out into get that started, complete the design process. When the equipment's ready to receive, to take that, and we're going to put it into essentially a test facility, which we're going to be using the Hall of Justice Center for. So we're going to stage the equipment, test it, make sure everything's working before we deploy it. And while the site's being ready to be built, until the point where we're able to move in. So we're waiting. And then once the building is ready for us to move equipment, we'll be building the network, getting that up to date. And then once we can do that, then we can deploy the various types of systems, like including the new CAD system, the Spillman system that's going in as well. So that's what's going to happen next over the next few months, is that these 2 stages: the plan, procure, perform, deploy, and then cut over. And then we know, and you're really, you know, what comes after that is just to use the system, right? To operate it, maintain it. And, you know, we expect 10 to 15 years, right? At least. So that's going to continue to happen. So we want to make sure that everything we've done, we've considered for your operations. So that's where we're at right now, is just finishing up this concept, starting up the procure phase, and then moving on to the next. And so in terms, oh, go ahead.
Susan, can you speak a little bit about the cybersecurity that has really been, you know, a main focus?
Yeah, I'm going to move on to the next slide. So this is my last slide, but this is kind of just to give an image of what the system design looks like. And part of that, right, part of our process is not only do we want to make it, you know, the users usable for the users to be able to use, make it simple, easy to operate, but we want the network design to be intuitive. But we're also considering security, right? Security is a big issue, especially with the ransomware that's going on, right? And so every point, so we've taken a look at the network and the pieces within the network and identified where does it touch the outside world, right? Where does it secure inside the building, and then where does it touch others? And so essentially, if you look at this, the network design really is that we've got 2 primary locations. So the Ocean Beach, right, is going to be your new 911 center. And then the Hall of Justice is going to be the backup location. And so we're essentially have a duplicate set of hardware at each of the locations. This one's going to be the Ocean Beach facility is gonna be a little more robust. And the Hall of Justice is going to have basically the same functions, the same features, and the capabilities. So our plan is to deploy at the Hall of Justice with the initial set of servers and systems to test that, make sure it's all working. Once that's ready, then when the Ocean Beach facility is ready, we'll be deploying within that, getting the networks working, making sure everything talks across. And then we'll be putting in, and part of that network design is to put in firewalls at any of those junction points where we're going to be touching others. So essentially you've got a public safety network and a business network, right? So those, the business network would be for your email, your internet access, things that will be, that you need to perform just your regular day-to-day functions. The public safety network is defined really for the CAD systems, for all of the applications that the field users need to use that are for the police and fire agencies. And so those are the systems that we're gonna be connecting out to the various agencies for Castle Rock and Kalama and Kelso for law, and then same with fire. And for each one of these locations, we're gonna have a firewall on each side, right? And we're gonna make sure that we're only allowing information between the right locations to be received. Within this, we've also got an IGN and the intergovernmental network. And within that, to make sure that we keep that, we've got two paths to that network, right? So one's going to stay through Cowlitz County. The other one's going to be a direct connection to your agency. So wherever possible, we've got two connections, right? So if we lose one, we've got another one. Wherever we've got hardware, there's no single point of failures. There's always another piece of hardware that can back it up. In terms of applications, they can ride across both. So we've looked at all the various aspects of this system and tried to make the design simple and easy. We've gone through with the various vendors and to really understand how does their equipment work? How does it need to be set up? Oftentimes vendors will come in and try and steamroll agencies. You know, you've got to buy this, you've got to use this. And we've done our best to really understand, well, what do you really, really need? And let's make sure that design is appropriate. So wherever possible, we're not throwing in extra pieces of hardware just because, you know, the CAD system requires their own server. Well, perhaps, but let's look at it and let's make sure that it actually works within the entire network design appropriately. So that's what we've done with this. And so this is essentially what your network is going to look like from a logical perspective. And so we're pretty excited about how it's very simple. You know, it looks simple, but there's a lot that goes into it to make it simple. So, and we highly, you know, the design is definitely secure. It's going to be, we don't ever expect that you're going to have any problems with, you know, ransomwares and things like that in the future. So any questions at this point?
I was going to ask, maybe it's just my memory, Deanna, the Hall of Justice being the backup site, has that been always in the kind of in the plan?
Well, at the very beginning of this, we didn't really anticipate moving out of the admin building. And then some of the team members from AdCom and I had some discussions with your IT folks, and they anticipated that we're going to vacate that area. I reached out to the sheriff. We had a discussion, then we brought the AdCom and More Power CVE technical folks, showed them a couple of locations that were available to us. And that the room behind the records department actually used to be the dispatch center. And it's got the raised floors. It's open 24/7. It's always staffed. If we had, you know, issues in the middle of the night, it would expedite support coming on site and assisting. So we selected that location as our backup facility. So we'll have 2 CAD workstations and then 2 phone answering stations like we do currently at the admin building, but we'll move that over. Right now, the Spillman servers are already in that room. They have a room just off of that back section behind records that is a data center. So we'll utilize that since we'll also be supporting the backup system as well.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. And then I was going to ask, this might be for Susan. The portion I'm looking at the information in our agenda packet. So the portion under the cost estimate for phases 2 through 5.
Yes.
Under the capital expenditures, maybe just could you break that down just a little bit, kind of somewhat high level, like what's all included in that?
Dari, I don't have that in front of me. Can you talk to this?
Yes, one moment. Let me bring that up. Thank you.
Okay. Not.
Do we need to make Dari a co-host?
Yeah, I'm trying to find I don't have that slide deck in front of me right now. Give me a second to stop share.
Bree, can you make Dari a co-host if Dari has the document?
I'm assuming that's new equipment you've identified that is needed in the switchover.
The any equipment that we're going to be using is going to be final equipment that we're going to use. So there's new hardware that's going to be added. Primarily the network, all of the network equipment is new. There is areas where we're reusing some equipment, and that's going to be for like the radio systems for the microwave networks. Things like that are going to be reused.
All right, I have that document. I can share it. This is Dari.
Okay.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Let me go help Bree.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
I think I'm presenting it. Do you guys see a table with values?
It's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So which one are you looking at, or all of it for the capital costs?
Yeah, I guess I was just on that previous, in my order of things, there's a previous page. It just said phases 2 through 5. It didn't spell it out like over the years. It just listed a price of 1.593 million for capital expenditures, including state and local taxes. So is that broken out? I mean, that's potentially over a 10-year period, or? I was just trying to understand that with what it was versus the timetable.
Right.
Exactly. This timetable divvies up some of those groups a little bit differently, but this would be the year 1 cost. It is a different number from the above in that it includes some of the subscription costs. So it does include equipment for network, transport, computer storage, phone, and then software, CAD equipment, and workstations, radio equipment, and then these vendor subscription costs for network, transport, compute storage, and phone.
Right.
And then I don't know, Susan, if you wanted to speak to it in more detail.
Yeah. So the roll-up cost basically so if you look at year 1, year 2, year 3, right, is we're expecting essentially the capital outlay to be 1.7 million for that first year, to include all the various aspects of the project within this capital costs. And total costs are going to be the rolled up from each one of these. So the capital cost plus the operational costs that we have down below. Sorry, can you show the whole screen? There you go. And then the project fees, right? And so our costs personally are within that, the consulting fees. So we're expecting that within that first year, essentially, costs. So as you go over through, if you look across through year 2 through 10, operational costs is basically how do you managing the system and the maintenance of it. Whereas the top part is at what points do you need to buy more equipment. So if you look at capital costs, year 5, we've got the network transport. We expect at that point that you'll expect to replace equipment. So So for budgeting purposes, for capital outlays, you want to look at this section of the cost breakout. Whereas for maintenance and management, the operational cost is down below.
Okay.
Am I correct in saying there the cost for year one is 2.7 million and change for year one?
Yeah.
Total.
Yeah. And that's for, to get the systems switched over, cut over, updated, in place and ready to go. And so that's buying the car, and the rest of the time is maintaining it and then replacing parts, later on down the road, essentially.
And that also includes the cost of all of our PCs and monitors. For moving to the new Spillman system, we'll be upgrading all of our hardware when we move to the new facility, our business PCs, because we don't own any of that right now.
Okay, and that was in the
First
plan
year.
as far as budget is concerned as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's all first year costs.
Okay, just a couple other questions. I'm not sure. One, with the backup site, are we gonna have to put together a new agreement with the county? Rental or lease agreement for that?
Actually, that's probably going to be a Joe question that he won't be able to answer. But maybe something for the commissioners.
I assume there'll have to be something in place, Alan. I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
I think $1 a year sounds good.
Well, part of that equation too is the backup server we're going to be running. We're going to be running our law records and the jail booking system off the Spillman system as well. So I think we'll be receiving the benefit in-house. Law enforcement will, that does not directly benefit 911. So I think there could be $1 a year trade-off. It seems reasonable because we are going to benefit on the law side as well.
Okay.
Okay. And the other question I had, I guess a little bit more on the technical side. I noticed that it looks like there's only one microwave link from the new center to the primary site, Rainier, I think that is, if memory serves. Is that correct? Is that enough? Or I know we've had some breakdown of microwave things here recently. Do we need kind of a backup microwave link as well?
Well, in terms of your microwave system, that does need to get updated, but it is, I think, part of the plan that's going forward is to, how to improve that. In terms of the connectivity, the best connection really is to go from your location to the Hall of Justice up to Rainier. So we've got two paths, right? So we're going to go from the new location up to Rainier, and then also can have a path that goes from the new Ocean Beach location to Hall of Justice, which also goes right up into the system. So you've got a couple of diverse paths. And even so, even if you lose that microwave connection to the dispatch center, the radio system continues to operate because the main location is Rainier, and that's the hub for the radio system in general. And so as long as the microwave and those sites are all connected to each other, even if you lose the connection to the dispatch center, that's going to continue to work. And then the operations would be just, we've got backup radios located at the new dispatch center. And so the dispatch consoles will be connected to that and have essentially over-the-air connectivity to that network. So you've got multiple layers of essentially redundancy in terms of connectivity to the microwave or to the radio system.
Okay.
And Susan or Jennifer, if you're on the line, correct me if I'm wrong. That one link that we're talking about is part of this project because they built a new site at the new facility and it is redundant, those microwave, that hop, correct?
Yes, yeah. So you've got multiple ways to get to the network.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, we thank you. We've done, we're really very happy with all of the, understanding and all of the, I guess, all the conversations that we've had with all the various team members to really understand, how do you operate? What are the applications? I mean, I think there's over 40 applications that are being used by the various agencies. So really understanding what, how do they use it? Where does it need to connect? Where are those connection points? So we've tried to pull everything into that to make sure that we've really captured what the stakeholder needs are. So we feel confident that we understand how you operate and how you want to operate in the future.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay.
Any other questions for the team at this time? If there aren't any, I'm at the pleasure of the board. If someone would like to make a motion.
I also move, Mr. Chairman, that we accept this proposal.
I will second that.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the personal services agreement with AdCom Engineering. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan and team.
Thank you. We'll get to work. Thank you.
Okay, I think up next, I'll be turning this back over to Dave, but this is amending policy 008. This is the exposure control program policy.
Yes, since December 1st, 2020, Cowlitz 911 has had a COVID-19 exposure control program. Recently, all counties in Washington State moved to phase 3 of the recovery plan. As per the Cowlitz County website, it's expected that the counties in the state of Washington will reopen on June 30th, 2021. The exposure control program policy for Cowlitz 911 was previously passed by the board and is now being amended pending the board's approval today. The amendments are: number one, Cowlitz 911 no longer requires temperature checks on arrival to the center, but there is an expectation in the policy that the employees remain at home if they do have a temperature. Number two, it's the expectation that any unvaccinated individuals entering the Cowlitz 911 facility will wear masks when interacting with the Cowlitz 911 employees. And finally, regarding section 4, the paying of administrative leave for COVID-related absences, this section will be rescinded in its entirety. So those are the amendments, and most of the policy is still in place to keep the center clean and to make sure that people don't come to work sick, and only essential personnel really are the only ones that are still allowed to come into the 911 center. So most of the policy is still in place, but we're adjusting those three things that I said. So we're asking for a motion to approve this amended policy.
Okay, questions for Dave on these changes?
So I have a question. If I look at this closely, are we suggesting that we continue to provide administrative leave to those that might have been exposed to COVID as we move forward?
No, what we're doing is we're rescinding that section, all of section 4.
So if someone is exposed to COVID after June, they must use their own sick leave?
Yes.
Exposed unvaccinated, exposed vaccinated, does that make a difference?
You wanna-
No, that doesn't make a difference. We, with lowering rates and following what other agencies are doing, we're getting rid of just the paid leave for anybody, whether they're vaccinated or not.
So are we going to require that, because they've been exposed, require that they stay home a period of time?
If they are unvaccinated, that is the current advice from the Washington State Department of Health. If someone
Okay,
is unvaccinated, they need to quarantine themselves
That,
until they can have a negative test.
yeah, that was my question, I guess.
Yes, so those individuals, if they are unvaccinated and they are exposed, will have to use their own sick time while they are in quarantine.
On the, Dave or Janelle, on the masks requirement, I guess, is that, I'm assuming this is all kind of on our system. We're not, no one's at the door checking for, I guess, verifying vaccination or not. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's correct. Nobody's at the door, but if we have somebody that's coming in for a sit-along, we will ask if they've been vaccinated. If they haven't, we will require them to have a mask while interacting with our employees.
Okay.
Dave, are you guys keeping a log of employees who are vaccinated?
We do have a log of people that have told us they've been vaccinated, yes.
And the reason I ask that is, you know, I know our guidelines from L&I that we're following here at the City of Longview, that we are actually required to either verify proof or have them sign and attest that they have been vaccinated, as opposed to the general public where it's acceptable to take take the honor system.
All right, we can look into having that requirement, but right at the moment, we don't require them to sign anything.
Any other questions for Dave? And Kurt, did that answer answered your question specifically about the leave?
It did, although I have to admit it, I'm still a little confused because as I look at the policy under second paragraph, it does say in order to assist the impact of COVID-related absences, Calais 911 will temporarily add an option for administrative paid leave for employees required to quarantine and or care for themselves if affected with COVID. And if I understand correctly, with this policy, we're no longer going to provide that. Is that true?
Correct. We are rescinding that paragraph and that section. We will no longer be providing paid administrative leave.
We should amend that paragraph that you just read, because the temporary policy, we are taking away that whole section number 4 now. So we should amend what you just said.
And what I just read was from section 1, second paragraph. So maybe that should be stricken as well.
Yes.
Yes, sir. That would go in line with what we're trying to do. Yes.
Okay. I think that's what was confusing me. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Kurt. Good catch. Anything else from anybody? If not, I'd entertain a motion to make the changes to this policy, including the addition of the removal of the second paragraph in section 1.
I'd make a motion to approve policy 008 as amended, as we discussed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend policy 008 as amended. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. And then next, item 9, I'll go and check in with folks. Do we have any board comments at this time? And then any board committee reports, so Law TAC or Fire TAC.
Next Law TAC meeting is in July.
Okay. Same for Fire TAC. sounds like, I'm assuming.
Same thing there, and they're just working on I think it's a radio policy manual book updates.
Okay, thank you. No, just general board comments before we move on. All right, then item 10. Back over to Dave for the director's report.
All right, so first, the staff update. Our staffing update is expected to be 16 dispatchers and 2 trainees by July 1st. That takes into account somebody that's quitting right before July 1st. One dispatcher who was off long-term injury has since returned to work, and one is still off on a long-term illness. Our human relations and supervisory staff are processing those who have applied and passed the preliminary test. It's a monumental task as 421 people have applied, and currently 47 of those people have passed the preliminary testing. We are hopeful that this will be a large enough pool to get the 8 qualified candidates through backgrounds and placed in a dispatcher academy that's expected to start on July 26, 2021. The hiring goal is ambitious, but it's necessary for the comm center to move forward. Any questions on what we're doing on the hiring process and the current staffing? All right, moving to climate and culture. As I've mentioned in past briefings, the lack of staffing and the resulting mandated overtime is the #1 concern by the working dispatchers. That concern has also shown up as a factor in our exit interviews with our exiting employees. During the past 2 weeks, several staffing ideas have been looked at. Although no staffing alternative has received any overwhelming results, I do believe that the line of communications are open between the center management and the management of the Dispatcher Guild. I've listened to the concerns of all the dispatchers during all times of the day, night, and weekend, and I believe that the scheduling dilemma is solvable. And I will continue to work with the Guild so that anything positive that can be done will be given top priority. So that's kind of the climate and culture that's going on right now at the facility. Any questions about that? All right, moving on to the facility update. The new facility is set to receive the first half of the lumber shipment. This will take us into the framing stage. The contractor continues to report that the facility will be completed by the mandated January 4th, 2022 date. There is some supply problems with lumber, so getting this first half of the shipment was very important to learn about, and right now it still keeps us on track to finish the facility on time. Any questions about the facility?
One quick question, that with the price of lumber and those kinds of things, is our contractors saying they should stay within their bid amount, or is that gonna cause them to apply for some sort of adjustment? Do we know?
So far, they have not asked for any of that in any preliminary discussions that I've had. I have a weekly meeting with them, the owner, architect, and contractor meeting. They haven't asked for any adjustments to that. I go out to the facility at least once a week and talk with the construction foreman. Their concern is whether or not they can get the shipment right now, and you know, we all know that the lumber has gone up dramatically in price, but they have not asked for an adjustment as of yet.
Okay, and kind of tongue in cheek here, but I know we did have some problems with vandalism or an attempted theft, I guess it was more. Does the contractor have any concerns about that kind of thing? Are they up their security or anything?
That was a overnight theft that Longview responded really quick. Longview Police Department responded extremely quick and and took the guy into custody. So I don't think there's any concerns that that those types of things are going to be handled quickly and swiftly by the local police departments.
So, well, that's kind of a follow-up question I had too, Dave, in terms of, does a contractor have adequate security to protect the site during the off hours?
I would have to, I'll ask them that question when I'm out there this week. They have not indicated to me that they have concerns over security at nighttime there.
And I know that's probably not necessarily our liability, if you will, but I was just curious because
Yeah.
I think that could be an issue.
I will bring that issue up with them at both the contractors meeting that we have every Tuesday, and then I'm out at the site every Thursday morning. But I have complete confidence in the Longview Police Department. They were there within minutes and had this guy in custody. So,
right.
So kudos to them.
I can also say that I know we have reached out to both Longview Police Department and the Sheriff's Office just as their patrols have time. There's a couple of advantageous spots in the Lowe's parking lot that if they need to pull in and write reports and they're just looking for something to do, that they would kind of keep an eye in, pull in and shine lights around on the site just as additional precaution to cover that area as well for us. So my impression is that the contractor is happy with the results and like Dave said, the speedy response of both agencies.
And I might add, about a month ago or so, maybe 5 weeks ago, Jerry and I went out and contacted all the neighbors on in Terry Taylor neighborhood and along Ocean Beach there, and just let them know that if they hear or see anything, just to call 911 as well.
I just kind of had a crazy thought. I don't know if it'd be possible to put a live camera on there, and maybe you could even have a link to the 911 website, just to public information for the public to monitor the development of the site and everything. It'd be public interest, and plus it also have the benefit of having, I guess, eyes on the site there, if that'd be able to do that inexpensively.
I can look into that, sir.
I wouldn't mind seeing having a live cam to check in, see how things are going.
I mean, it's better than watching a bird, right?
That's very true. Good idea. Okay.
Yep.
So we'll check that out. Let's see. Anything else on facility?
I'll move on to the radio infrastructure. Once again, since the outages in April at the Hall of Justice and the Davis sites, we continue to be stable on the radio with the fixes that have been made by our vendor. Going through specific sites, the Kalama radio connection, we had a testing of the system that failed to get the results that we had hoped for. And Day Wireless is troubleshooting the problems that was found in the testing, and we're going to do a little more testing this week. The Hall of Justice, the backdated order on replacement parts is still currently scheduled for July 9th. And then this is part of the nationwide shortage of parts. The Castle Rock High Tower, the building permit has been applied for, and the electrical permit will be applied for today. We've got the Columbia County site that we're working with the Columbia County PSAP, and that's moving forward for us to use their site. Baker's Corner, there was a special use permit for the tower at Baker's Corner that was approved yesterday by the Longview Council. The Woodland Tower, the FAA license has been approved for the new tower location. And that's the update on the current towers. And any questions on any of those? All right, moving on to analytics. For the month of May, we answered at 95.77% of the 911 calls within 10 seconds. And the goal is to do 95% or better. So we did fairly well for the month of May. And that's going to conclude the director's report.
All right, anything for Dave before we move on? Okay, not hearing any. Is there anything to address under old business today? All right, I know, do we have a couple of different things, I think, for executive session? The first one, maybe Frank might be able to help me out. We need to revisit the initial executive session discussion from last meeting.
Regarding the performance of a public employee, is that what you're talking about?
Was the first one we dealt with, was that under potential litigation?
I'm sorry, you were saying?
I think the first one was at the potential litigation. We held that over for a final decision.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so do we'll revisit that at this time? Would that work?
Yes, correct. That's one.
Okay, so and then the second one would be the review of a performance of a public employee. So, and I can't remember if we just lumped those together and as to all under one time umbrella, Frank, or just separate?
Yes, you can put them up. I mean, basically we're going in and we have two different exemptions and we are limiting our conversation to those two. So I think we're okay just with what you announced.
Okay, and then maybe start with 20 minutes, and if we need to extend, we can.
Yes, sir.
So we'll officially start the executive session at 11. So it's 10:58 right now. It'll be executive session, both under potential litigation as well as to review the performance of a public employee. We'll start that at 11. I don't know, Alan, if you were able to make the training with Rachel. I did not. So I don't know how to control the breakout rooms. Maybe hopefully Brianna does.
But yeah, I didn't make that either, so.
All right, bye. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you. So we'll take just a couple minutes to make sure we're situated appropriately for executive session.
We've cleared the room in my office.
Okay.
And I'm looking down the list. Somebody let me know if they see a name that's not supposed to be in. See, the phone number just went away. I guess technically we can't start till we switch over to 11 o'clock, so it should be less than a minute.
Yeah, just a quick question then. To come out of executive session, can we do that by sending a chat message to Dave or Brianna or somebody? Does that work?
I hope so.
Okay.
That was my plan.
Joe, I'm going to be in the first part, but not in the second part. Correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the plan. Yeah.
And the second thing is that the first part, Bree's controlling the sessions right at the moment because Rachel's not here today.
Can you control that, Dave?
Let me check. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, Bree is out of the executive session right at the moment.
Okay. All right, so we're good to go for executive session. So the first thing we'll deal
Joe?
with is the potential
Joe?
litigation. Yeah,
One question, I'm looking at my screen here,
okay.
and above it says, I think we're still streaming live and recording. And I wonder if we should be, if it's an exec session.
No, we're not, we shouldn't be.
Hey, let me go
YouTube.
check with Bree real quick to stop that.
Thank you. Thank you, Kurt. Yeah, I know Rachel always turns the streaming part off
Yeah,
And the recording part, I think.
and the recording. Back on here. I think we're good. So no decisions were made in executive session. And I should note from the last meeting, we did table the MOU discussion. And we did not address that again at this meeting. So I think board, we're based on other things in the works. We're going to, I believe, postpone that until the next meeting. We'll postpone that one more time. Is that correct? Pending legal review and input.
Yes. Yes, I agree with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else then? I think that's, hopefully that's it. I don't see anything else on the agenda. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Thank you, everybody, and we will adjourn. Have a good day.
you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, buddy.